A championship on the line is the GT4 European Series, powered by Rafa Racing Club. Welcome everybody to Barcelona. We have Silver, Pro-Am and Am. Am and Pro-Am have been decided, but Silver I think is going to go down to the wire because it is wide open between 4 different teams and it's such a competitive championship, such a competitive season that it is very unlikely that it's going to get sorted out today. What we do have though is another important step towards deciding a champion and no doubt another very dramatic race indeed. Ben Constanduros and David Addison trackside, and the cars making their way round to the grid for this 1 hour race. The countdown continuing, and the grid is, I was going to say full. There's one gap I've noticed a little bit further back where we have a missing Stanislav Safronov and Alexander Weintraub Porsche. But as far as the Silver Championship is concerned, it looks like this, with Gabriele Piana and Michael Schrei ahead of Bake Bessler and Tom Edgar. A point back from them, Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani, and the outsiders, Etienne Chieli and Antoine Potti. Piana and Schrei have the advantage in terms of the advantage of points, the gap between them and everybody else, but they've not had the best of qualifying sessions for this race. Now, Robert Consani, who drives the Audi number 3, is a real threat for the title. He's with Gemma Scott.
Well, the battle's very much on for the championship still. 26 points between this man here, Robert Consani, and our leaders. 26 points entre vous et le premier là au championnat. Ça va être difficile. Par contre, on est sur la 2e ligne de départ. Et eux, là, la compétition, c'est au 9e ligne. First line, well, second line for you guys, the 9th line for your nearest competition. What's going to happen?
Ouais, mathématiquement c'est possible. Après, je suis pas sûr qu'au niveau des gradations, on soit sur le même pied d'égalité. Donc, on a essayé de faire un setup qui est pas trop agressif. Donc maintenant, j'espère que Benjamin va pas trop gaspiller les pneus et qu'il va me laisser une voiture dans de bonnes conditions et qu'on croise les doigts pour que ça le fasse.
Just a little translation for our English audiences there, that of course it's all about the setup to try and make sure that the tyre degradation is minimalised on here and that you've got the advantage over the drivers there, but you're not sure. Vous êtes pas sûr que tu peux gagner d'ici?
Non, franchement non. On n'est pas serein, on a une dégradation qui est vraiment rapide pour toutes les voitures, mais vu que notre voiture fait partie des voitures les plus lourdes du plateau, à Barcelone on va vraiment souffrir, et en plus de ça, malheureusement, il y a beaucoup de chaleur et on aurait aimé qu'il fasse plus frais à Barcelone.
Bon courage pour la course, Robert. Just worried about the heat there, the degradation in the tyres as well, and he's really not sure that he can push on through and take those 26 points that he needs at this point.
Well, let's see. Certainly that is going to be a competitive car, no question. And it is a McLaren on pole position for this race, which is going to be started by Josh Rattigan. There it is. And Ben, it was a fascinating qualifying session, and it puzzled us a bit as to where the pace of the BMWs had gone to, because it came back for Q2, but the BMWs really struggled earlier on in the day, didn't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And that really has set a bit of a precedent for our race, with 2 BMWs in the championship fight for silver, and one with that healthy points advantage in the number 2. Certainly we're going to be squeezing the championship up at the end of this race, unless something quite remarkable can be found pace-wise from the number 2. What we know though is these races do provide everything, including drama and safety cars usually, which closes the field up. And when we have these situations where in the Pro-Am entries, the pro drivers start, then the AMs really have to make the difference in the second part of the race. Here is a car that we have seen previously. It's had 3 separate sets of drivers in it throughout the season, and it has, quite confusingly, a driver with a Codis ASP race suit on in the hands of Jim Pla and Jean-Luc Boblique alongside him, starting at the back of the field for race 2, but the front for race 1.
Now, that, I suspect, is going to be able to help at number 3. But what about the other championship contenders? Michael Schrei is with Gemma.
Well, I can certainly vouch for Robert Consani with the heat down here, blazing down on the cars. Michael, leading the championship, 9th row. Are you confident that you can push on through and still take a podium from here?
It's going to be hard. I mean, it's a long race. It's a lot of heat. You said it already. We have a good gap of points right now, but we are also pretty far back behind in the starting grid, and the other guys are in the front. So we have a long way ahead, and we will see, and we will try our best.
Have a great race. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wanted to know why. Because in qualifying 2, the BMWs were strong, but in qualifying 1, They were nowhere. And that has put Schrey down there, and even further back is the number 12 car of Tom Edgar, 36th spot in the top of shot. And that's supposed to be fighting the championship as well.
It is a puzzler, isn't it? And maybe the teams themselves not even sure. So there, the grid. There is that one gap, as I say, where Stanislav Savronov's NM racing team, Mercedes, should have been, but is missing. It might be trapped at the end of the pit lane. We'll have a look when the cars are released. Very, very busy grid. Now there is 78, third on the grid, Jack Mitchell. He's going to start. Jack, very versatile. We've seen him in the British Touring Car Championship, in China GT, in Minis, GT4, you name it, he's driven it.
And interestingly, sits in third, directly behind teammate Ratikin. So the two yellow Elite Motorsport McLarens can follow each other into turn one on that inside line. Problem is that that circuit then goes left afterwards, so it can always cause a little bit of, confusion as to where you're on the part of the track.
You're right, they've got the inside line, nose to tail, the outside line, two Team Speed Car Audis. And we were discussing in the qualifying session this morning whether or not Jim Pla's car is going to be sacrificed to enable the La Riche-Consigny entry to get points, and that can be the cork in the bottle, and I still reckon that's very likely.
Yeah, absolutely. In the hands of Jim Pla. In the hands of Jean-Luc Bobelik, less strong, and certainly looked like he struggled in the Audi. There is that number 3 car that leads the championship. Bobelik, for me, feels like, with so much experience in a Mercedes, which has got the engine over the front wheels, this Audi is far more 50-50 split in terms of weight transfer, weight balance. And I think perhaps Jean-Luc Bobelik will be really struggling in the second half of the race when Robert Consani will take over from Benjamin Lariche.
Well, let's see how it all pans out. The points scored in this race are going to be essential. There is Antoine Leclerc, who was part of the Pro-Am title fight, but lost the opportunity to continue to race for that at Hockenheim. That's now been won by Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amon, and the AM competition already won by Alban Varuti, who's had just the most extraordinary season, 8 wins out of 10 races, and some of those have been on his own.
Yeah, sharing with Julien Piget this weekend, who's back, but Piget doing other championships, which means he can't always be with us. The 4th championship contender is the number 4 silver Toyota Supra with Etienne Shelley and Antoine Potti, and they know how to win championships in this car because they've done it before. But they sit 37 points back, and it's not 50 points at a maximum here this weekend because there are points for qualifying as well, so I think it's 52 in total.
Yeah, it's 26 a race, isn't it? Because you get 25 for a win, you get a point for the pole position, which goes to both drivers. Even if you didn't drive the car, your teammate gets it for you. But of course, one of those points already determined from what we had earlier on in that qualifying session. So straight away, Josh Ratican takes a point. You could argue he doesn't need it for the championship, but significantly, he takes it away from somebody else.
Yeah. And the other last story to cover off, 43 cars on the grid. I'm sure we had 44 in qualifying.
Because Savronov's car is missing.
Ah, yes. Okay.
Just out of that window.
Below us. But at the back of the field is Sonev in the Porsche that didn't set a lap in qualifying because all 5 laps that he tried got thrown out. But race control have allowed him, even though he didn't set a qualifying lap, to start the race, and he is in the back for Overdrive Racing. It's a very nice liveried Porsche, that, quite complex, but they will start.
It's another semantics question, isn't it? Because he did the laps, he just didn't get the time.
Yeah.
But he did do the laps. He did more than the regulation 3, so in that respect, that's okay.
Is 317 on the grid? Because that was the car that got thrown into the wall at turn 1 and had heavy front-end damage. I think that's the car that is missing from our timing screens.
I think you're right.
Safronov is on the timing screen as 88, so 317, they will be working on that car to get it working for tomorrow, but didn't have enough time to fix it today. Yeah,
317's been withdrawn, but 88's a gap on the grid, if you see what I mean. So it was a big accident at the end of Q2, and we did say at the time that they've not got much opportunity to repair the car. Right, formation lap underway then. So the car's now set off behind the pace car, as it effectively is. You can see just how crowded a grid it is. It's a long pit straight here, but it all of a sudden looks very, very busy indeed. So heading down towards turn 1, the McLaren on pole position of Josh Ratican. Jim Pla to line up with him at the front of this very big grid. Ratican and Pla, row 1. Jack Mitchell starts third, and Benjamin Lariche is going to be alongside. It's McLaren and Audi again on row 2. Row 3 is Antoine Leclerc, and lining up with him is Antoine Potti. And then on the 4th row, you've got Alexander Hartwig, winner at Hockenheim, and on the outside is Paul Caupe in the Alpine. Next comes Jamie Day, and Hendrik Still lines up alongside. Then on the 6th row of the grid, Dante Rapponge and Alex Fontana. The cars turning their way now up through turn 4. So there is Robert Consani, who will do the second stint. Benjamin Lariche will start in Audi number 3, and I'm fully expecting a bit of help to go that car's way from the Pla Boberleek entry.
But the one thing we really need to pay attention to, especially in this early couple of laps in the race, I think a lot of the teams and drivers will need to pace themselves and not take too much out of the tyres and not ask too much of the tyres in the early laps. That will then have a reoccurring effect across the next hour that actually those tyres will be able to last. 40 degrees track temperature, okay, that's 5 or 6 degrees cooler than what you might get in the height of summer, perhaps in Misano. But there's also long corners, long mid-speed corners around the circuit that really strain, especially the rear left tyre through turn 3, for instance, and the end of the lap. It's that tyre that will start screaming no more.
And there's also driver fatigue. Tommy Erdos was up here with the McLaren races and was making the point that, okay, you have got that long pit straight, but for the rest of the lap, you know, you're working hard all the time, so you don't get much of a respite, and it's very, very hot in the car, of course. Plus, you've got your helmet on, your overalls, your balaclava, you know, and if you've been in the car on the grid, the heat soak's already there, so the guy's now itching to get on with the race and get some cool air through the car. So, down towards turn 10 they come. Got the Toyota there just up the road ahead. As the field comes towards turn 12, getting into that 2x2 side-by-side formation in this, the penultimate race of the season in the GT4 European Series. There is the non-championship 6 Hours of Rome to come, and there you can see the racing spirit of Le Mans. Aston Martin, that car a little bit further back on the grid than anticipated, but Victor Weyrich, who's been a race winner this year, at the wheel of it for the opening stint. So the cars now trickle their way in towards the turn 13 right-hander. No chicane on the Barcelona lap this season, which is great. Instead, it is a fast 13, a very fast 14, and then up towards the timing line they will come.
Elite Motorsport are going to want to prove something today. They want to show, after what has been quite tricky season, that McLaren can win in GT4. They really need to be careful not to interfere too much with the Lariche-Consani car to their outside. They're going to be very aggressive, I imagine, going into turn 1.
Green lights go on, race underway, and straight off then to the inside line looks the pair of McLarens to try to make sure they stay ahead of the Audis. Alexander Hartwig's blue Porsche darts out and darts back in again. And on the outside line, look, Jim Pla thinking about letting his teammate through, but he can't. He's going to take the line for the corner. They wriggle their way up out of turn 2 and off the road. Skips Jim Pla. He's got to go to the end of the escape road. Also being run out wide, that was Hendrik Still, and there are others being forced through the gravel. Michael Schrey on the outside line trying to keep out of trouble. All of that means that Rattigan leads the way. And on the inside line, Jack Mitchell goes for second. And I think I'm right in saying that Robert Consani, or sorry, Benjamin Lariche rather, is already up in a third place in the Audi. Yes, he is there with Antoine Leclerc in 4th.
Is that the 3 or is that the 83 in 3rd position? I think that's the 83, and the 3's dropped back to 6th position.
You are right, it is, yes. It was Jim Pla, even though he was off the road, you're quite right. He has hung on to that 3rd place. So now if there is going to be an orchestrated switch, it's going to be a little bit harder to sort out, isn't it?
Amazing to see so little grip going through turn 1. They were sliding around, scrabbling for grip. We had a couple of cars off on the outside of turn 2. I think everybody's actually managed to make it to the second half of the lap. 2 cars certainly off heavy into the gravel, and here comes that little Alpine of Antoine Leclerc looking down the inside to try and find a way through. Hartwig managed to make it.
Yeah, he did indeed. Alexander Hartwig is your chauffeur as he climbs up the hill, but it's McLaren 1, 2, the two yellow perils ahead of Jim Clark. Fourth is Leclerc, fifth, and it's Hartwig. And the rest of this enormous field pouring up the hill now. Then there on the outside line, Ivo Chick losing out to Michael Schrei, still the championship leader then in that blue and silver BMW, edging forward all the time as the cars now come out of turn 13 and 14 to the end of lap 1. So for Eddie Ives' team, Elite Motorsport, it is Raskin in the lead, and big damage done there for the Gustavo Xavier Charles Dawson Porsche. It is Gustavo Xavier at the wheel of it, and that's going no further.
Just having a look to see who's dropped back. The Bachmann Aston Martin down a long way, down in 26th position.
And there are two cars involved in that incident. You've just seen one of them, but I think the other car involved is number 13 Porsche, potentially, of Ivailo Zonev. The safety car is being deployed. It's all happened between turns 12 and 13.
And we don't have Rabindra also in the Racing Spirits of Le Mans Aston Martin. That's missing. And yes, actually, from where we can view the incident, two very battered machines up at turn 13. Where is the Aston Martin gone, though? Because that's also gone missing in the third sector.
Okay, it might be hidden up on the other side of the road, up against the barriers. We'll try and check in due course, or it may have limped on. Oh, there it is. So it has limped and parked on the inside up against the wall. So Akhil Rabindra's Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston is out, and there you can see the Porsche I was talking about and the very damaged car of Gustavo Xavier. So they've all come to grief up at the top of the circuit. Big damage done to all of them, and that's a real shame for the Overdrive Racing team. Ivailo Zonev, I think, has already had enough at Barcelona. His lap times have been taken off him. He's got a badly damaged car, and that's not the start to the race that either of them wanted. Gustavo Xavier is okay, but that car, again, with a lot of damage, beached in the gravel.
And that's two Porsches then heavily damaged as well. We don't know if the Aston Martin is involved in the same incident or a different incident.
Well, I think it is, because it's under investigation. Cars 13, 26 and 442 are noted in the incident, so it's in there somewhere. So right now, the recovery operation is underway, but you get the feeling this might take a few minutes because they've got 3 cars to retrieve and all that debris to get off the road as well. And knowing Porsches and front damage, there might be some liquid on the road as well.
Absolutely. So there was a few cars off at the first couple of corners, and sure, one took some of our advertising hoarding with it, wrapped across the front of the car, but there's no evidence now that that car continued with that. And the only 3 cars we've lost are Rabindra, Xavier and Zonev, and we've kind of accounted for all of them. Yeah, so the Aston Martin is on the inside.
There.
Right? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So whatever incident happened, that sort of bounced across the road, and that car going no further. There you've got the field turning out of turn number 12 through 13, and then down to the end of the lap. So the recovery operation continuing, but it will be another couple of laps before we can get the race back underway. So the Pro-Am champion going through. Replay of the start here, Ben.
McLaren very strong on the initial start, but then look at how the rest of that field, there's almost 5 cars behind squabbling for 5th position, and Lariche gets squeezed. In fact, it is then Jiplar going off the road. Look in the middle of the pack, who goes off the road to the outside. Amazing drone shot here of exactly what happened, but there was a little bit of contact between the two speed car Audis, and this is exactly the right place. It's just understeer. The 2 Aston Martins there simply understeering off into the gravel and then coming back on again. The banner being disposed of by one of those. That was a GPA Racing Aston Martin of Bailey Voisin. And then here's the crash.
Right, so Xavier spins, gets hit by Zonev rather. So yeah, it was Gustavo Xavier who was ahead and lost it and then got collected. Replay of the start from on board Hartwig's car.
Has to blend out the throttle. Nowhere to go. You want to be kind of tucked up as close as possible. There's the contact between the 2 speed car Audis as Jiplar trying to turn across the bows of Benjamin Lariche. And then Jiplar keeps his foot pretty well buried to come back on the circuit without losing any track position.
I just wonder whether the Audis did the right thing in rejoining where they did rather than going to the end of the escape road. That might get looked at, actually, just to make sure they did it right, because there was a note from Joel Durval, the race director to say if you do run off the road at turn 1, you've got to follow the escape route and sort of blend back in coming into turn 3.
Yeah, there's a bollard, isn't there, on the inside of turn 2, outside of turn 3. But on lap 1, it would be pretty hard to redirect your car there, I think. Now, how did Aka Rabindra get involved? I wonder whether he was the reason why the first of our Porsches were facing the wrong direction.
Possibly so, yes. Because if there was contact, then the damage was enough to stop him at the scene. Actually, they've done a grand job over there because the circuit's nearly clear. So provisionally, at the moment, this is the constant if of things staying as they are. But Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consigny would move up to second in the silver standings. But there's an awful lot that can pan out of this yet. And this is only race 1 of 2 anyway.
The number 2 machine leading the championship, still sitting 19th though, so didn't really progress too much in those early laps. We saw both Benjamin Lariche and Antoine Potty losing a couple of positions. Actually, Jamie Day in the number 5 was a strong mover in the Mirage Racing Aston Martin. He's got up to 8th spot. Shrey in 19th. What about Tom Edgar, 30th? So he made up 6 positions.
19th, you're right. 12th in class.
Okay.
But even that doesn't help because that's out of the points. It's the top 10 only that score. So yeah, number 2 BMW still needs to make progress over the course of the race once it gets back underway.
There it is. Number 2.
It's one of the smartest cars on the grid. You saw how well it went in the hands of Gabriele Piana, so it may well come alive in the second stint, of course. Lots of energetic weaving going on from Michael Shrey.
Good news is this is protecting the tyre a little bit. They're not having to go at full racing speed for the full hour now. Temperature in the air has dropped below 30 degrees for the first time since probably about 9 o'clock this morning. And but the track is still well into the 40s. And as soon as you get cars on track, it's amazing how the track temperature increases. It's not just getting heated by being bathed in sunshine. It's being used as well. McLaren 1-2 in GT4. I'm not sure that's ever happened. Certainly not in the recent past.
No, I needed to get my anorak on to check that, and I thought the temperature was against bringing it. But no, I think you're right. It's not something that happens very often, if ever at all. So Elite Motorsport here making history. And the safety car means that they're increasing the number of laps led as well, because there's no chance of being challenged at the moment. So we're still behind the safety car. I'm saying at Hockenheim how good the second race was. We went through without any interruption whatsoever. And here you go, early doors, lap 1, mayhem kicks off. Of course, the length of the lap means that there is quite a lot of time for the marshals and the track workers to carry on sorting the incident out before the cars get round again. And in fairness, the safety car going at a decent lick to keep the tyre pressures and temperatures up.
Also amazing to see how many people are around in the paddocks and in the grandstands. Obviously the facility here is capable of taking well over 100,000 fans, but it is good to see that selected grandstands are pretty well full. Down at turn 10 is a big favourite because it's off the back of the paddock. And the paddock itself very full of people wandering around and poking their nose in, not just into the GT3 paddock, but also wandering around GT4. Even when I walked in this morning, lots of GT4 guests at various different teams with their team passes on, enjoying the hospitality. So the professionalism now in GT4 has increased so much. It's not really it is a support race to the GT3 category, but there's so much interest in its own right from sponsors, from friends and family, and from the fans too.
And this event is badged as the Barcelona Festival of Speed. And a few years ago, when there was a historic race event here at the circuit, it was promoted by an inveterate enthusiast by the name of Jesus Pozzo, and he put on this effectively revival of the Montjuic Park circuit, and therefore struck to the historic theme around that. The historic event is no more because it was difficult to attract people here. It wasn't a circuit with a historic racing connection, and from the UK it was a bit of a slog and people didn't come. So what he's done is concentrate his efforts on this event, and it is more than just a race meeting. You know, there's a drag race competition on track tonight. There are show and shine shows around the facility here at Barcelona. You know, there's an extra catering area. There are supercar displays. You know, it is more than just come and watch some racing, and that's being reflected in, as you say, a bigger crowd.
And they do seem to love their racing here.
Yeah.
And they will hang around as long as there's racing on circuit and action on circuit. There's a sim race for people to watch this evening, as well as the drag race that is happening at the same time. And sometimes the car shows out the back of this main grandstand are incredible.
Yeah.
I'm not interested to note that Andreas Bachmann in the 19 machine has been noted as making contact or an incident that involves Akko Rabindra. So Rabindra has been he's under investigation for the Porsche incident, but we never saw him being part of that. Maybe also got involved, or solely got involved with Bachmann as well, because they lost 9-10 positions from the start.
It is conceivable that Bachmann and Rabindra got together, and the legacy of that was that Rabindra then tagged 442 Porsche, which was then walloped by the other one. So yes, it could have been a sort of chain reaction, really.
Cars have passed the incident zone, which is at the end of the lap. Marshall's still very much trying to clear up the gravel from up there and the various bits of car. And as you say, with various bits of cooling in the very front of these Caymans, very easy to pull that off and empty your liquid onto the circuit, just on the exit of 12. We go for another lap. Now, the pit window is at the middle of this race. We've just had the McLaren Trophy, which always confuses me when they move their window around, but in the GT4 European Series, much like in a 1 hour GT3 category race, the window is a 10-minute window right in the centre of this 1 hour, and therefore we've got about 50 minutes still of these drivers to be in the car.
Yeah, 25 to 35 minutes is that window time. And there is Jean-Luc Bobelic in the grey and Robert Consani in the white top, discussing how they're going to win this championship for Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche. Jean-Luc Bobelic was a winner in Valencia 2 weeks ago in GT2. And Robert Consani looking forward to getting on board, even if it's only a relatively short stint.
Yeah, Consani's done lots of rallying. He's actually from the mountains of Aix-en-Provence.
Okay.
And so not far away from the Paul Ricard circuit, but has a huge amount of European rally experience to his name, and has only in the last couple of years switched over to car racing.
And has been an absolute natural, because he's always been a very quick GT4 racer.
Yeah. Also a partner of the Racing Lubes oil creator, which adorns. I don't know where the Burger King kind of logo comes from on that car.
No.
Maybe they just like it.
So the field turning through. McLaren, Audi, Alpine, Porsche, Audi, Toyota, Chevrolet, Aston Martin, Chevrolet, and then Porsche to round out the top 10. There are still marshals busily working over on the exit of turn 12, and teams looking at data. But yeah, I think we're not going to get many laps in before the pit window opens here. May even have to be delayed. It's not recovering cars now, it's making sure that the road is clear and people aren't going to run over bits of debris, really.
As you said, the safety car running at quite a speed. They're keeping the pace up here, which actually isn't necessary for the keeping temperature into the brakes and tyres, but it will be nice to have the airflow through the car, because there's nothing worse than slowing down. And it's slowing down where you get the heat soak into the cockpit and into you, basically. So it'll be very hot when running behind the safety car. But with this speed, it's not too bad. Of course, most of the circuit is clear to run fast. It's only around the back end of that where we've got the problems. And it does look like the marshals might be moving back into position. So maybe if we can go slow, safety car in this lap.
Brilliant. Yeah, I was going to say there are fewer of them trackside, certainly. And you've got one or two of the teams saying that some cars have been gaining an advantage by track limit abuses, and others complaining that people aren't respecting the safety car process, so there's a lot for race control to unravel. But the first thing is to get the race back underway.
How did you gain advantage, presumably before the safety car rather than under the safety car? Yeah. So the first couple of corners that we saw from the drone shot of cars running
off the road. Right, so we're going to go back racing this time, and we're going to have round about 7 minutes before the pit window opens.
Got the FPV drone up at the moment. Two different types of drone, one that can chase and one that does beauties.
Does the drone have to observe track limits? Does it have to actually hover over the tarmac, or can it stray over the curb?
I bet there are some rules.
Yes.
I bet there's lots of rules to allow to operate a drone. It's quite funny watching an FPV drone pilot, because he's just standing completely still, but he's watching himself chasing these GT4 cars around.
Waiting for his body to sway. Right, so we've talked about team orders at Team Speed Car. Well, that's unravelled a little bit, but what about at Elite? Because here you've got the two of them running together. Bit of liquid down on the road. Look, we're about to go racing then. The green flag is ready this time as the cars come out of turn 13 then. So down towards the right-hander that brings you onto the pit straight. The McLarens 1 and 2 go racing again. The lights go green, the green flag waves. And now the real opportunity for the heroes is to do a really good dive up the inside heading into turn 1. So as they head towards the braking zone, it is going to be Rattigan from Mitchell then, 1 and 2. Third is Jim Pla, and on the attack, look, is Benjamin Lariche. Also on the attack, Antoine Leclerc, and actually out of the leading sextet, nobody really gains that.
No, they'll be a little bit careful going through these first couple of corners just to make sure that everything is up to where they expect. You don't want to be a hero or try to be a hero down the inside of someone as Tom Edgar makes a move and realise you don't have the grip or you don't have the braking that you were first expecting. So that's Edgar moving up into 29th position ahead of Anthony Beltoise.
And Michael Schrei also needing to make progress in number 2 BMW as the rest of the pack battles on. Hendrik still in the 10th place green Porsche there. Look at those two McLarens though. Look at the way they've extended the gap already. Big dive on the inside there. Jamie Day goes through, and that's a lesson learned for Antoine Potty. Jamie Day charging through on the inside. That was brave.
Those that are cautious in the early laps and those that are brave, and obviously Jamie Day with the confidence underneath him to be able to lean on his car, and he moves ahead of one of our championship contenders as they all thread the eye of the needle through that tricky turn 7.
And that bravery probably came from lots of seasons of Ginetta Junior racing, because you've got to be very combative to win in that. Jamie Day did. So down they come towards turn 10. Now Jim Pla catching back up onto the tail of Jack Mitchell for second place as the field turns through. Dust being kicked up in the background. There'll be some more dust kicked up between 12 and 13, I think, where they put the liquid soak coolant clear-up operation done. So there'll be cement dust on the road to soak up the liquid. Here they come over the brow out of 12. There it is in the background being kicked into the air. Speedy dry. And number 20 Mercedes of Denis Bulatov out of turn 13.
Gilbert and Fontana we're watching going side by side. Fontana's had to fall behind the Audi, the blue machine, but it's great to have Alex Fontana back in the championship with a second car from Century Porsche Trentino, and some very big names fighting just outside the top 10 as Benjamin Lariche looks to the inside but can't find a way past Anthony Hartwig.
So Jamie Day up to 7th, Victor Weyrich up to 11th at the expense of Paul Cowpay. Rattigan to Mitchell was 0.6 of a second, and we've got about 5 minutes and counting before the pit window opens then. So these drivers now have a very limited amount of time to really make an impact, and Michael Schrei is not making an impact in BMW number 2. He is still stuck in that 19th place as there. Hendrik still gets the hurry up from number 74 Aston to Victor Weyrich right there behind him.
Again, Benjamin Lariche looking down the inside. There is no space to pass Hendrik still, Hartwig. He's not under pressure yet though from Jamie Day behind. It just seems to be a little bit off the usual racing line on most corners.
Now Jim Pla, absolute best in the first sector as he chases after the McLarens once more. 11th and 12th coming through together. Victor Weyrich then is ahead of the Paul Cowpay Alpine, but Weyrich going after Hendrik still. There is Fontana, who in turn has got Mark de Fulgencio behind him as they accelerate down to turn 10. McLarens 1 and 2. Josh Rattigan still clear of Jack Mitchell. So Josh Rattigan, a mainstay of the Toka support package for a number of years in the UK. Fulgencio there on the outside line. Thought about trying to make a move against Alex Fontana, but he's just been schooled in that.
Yeah, we saw a few in the sim racing, didn't we, going around the outside, but it's a little bit more tricky in the real world, especially on days like today where there's so much rubber down on the racing line and much less off the racing line. There'll be a big difference in grip and feel if you try and go around the outside. So much running today from the GT3 category and the McLarens as well. Qualified this morning. Victor Weyrich up to 11th though. Paul Cahal has lost a lot of ground over these last couple of laps, down to 12th position. As we switch our attention back to the speed car, and that's the 83, who's lost a position to Antoine Leclerc.
Yeah, that Alpine is going really well, isn't it? Leclerc's car. And that's also the change of lead in Pro-Am now, because up into the lead of the class has gone Antoine Leclerc. Jim Pla drops to second, therefore, and a big dive there by Benjamin Lariche on the inside of Alexander Hartwig, and he's gone by. That puts him up into 5th place, but crucially 3rd in class.
Is Hartwig going to fight back? He's had a better exit through 4. Looks to the inside, but Benjamin Lariche kind of moves across on him and covers. They've got a change of position further back because Hartwig's going to lose another one. Gets elbowed off the circuit by Jamie Day, and he's managed to make that one stick. Now, ahead, I think Benjamin Lariche is going to make light work of Jim Pla. He does.
So, yes, as we were expecting, not much resistance offered up, but it might be a bit more difficult for others to find a way past Jim Pla, although that said, the Toyota has jumped by, hasn't it? Oh, sorry, yes.
No, Jamie Day.
Jamie Day, it is. They've gone by, and now Alexander Hartwig tries to fight back. So, yeah, so much for Jim Pla's resistance. He's let them by virtually there. The Toyota's gone through as well.
I wonder whether he's got a problem, because he's being swallowed up.
Absolutely,
here. Around the outside goes Dante Reponge. And that 83 speed car, which has never been the stronger of the 2 cars, I wonder whether that's not running at how it should be, as we take an aerial look of the old rallycross track here in Barcelona.
In the halcyon days of, well, rallycross with noisy engines. Meantime, let's see whether Pla stays out. Yes, he does, but he's certainly fading, and there's just no resistance here. But again, if the car has a problem, why stay out? He goes over the line, but having dropped back into 10th place now, and number 10 is being told to give back 2 positions for cutting turn 1 at the start. Number 10 is the Julien Piguet Alban Varouti car.
Change of position, Greg Gilbert losing a spot there. I think that was Paul Prahab. Maybe they were running side by side. That's Mercedes that's dropping back, so that's Fulgencio, I think. For our championship contenders, Schrey has stayed in 19th position. Edgar is only 29th. We saw him move into 29th a couple of laps ago, so not much has changed there, but a lot is changing around the second half of the top 10.
But it's not helping Michael Schrey, who is still mired in 19th place in number 2 BMW. So, just say, Julien Piguet being told he's got to give back a couple of places. And in the meantime, we are about a minute and a half off that window opening. So those at the back might be able to bail at the end of this lap even. There is Hendrick still under pressure. And right behind him is Paul Caupe. So through they turn. Whereas up the road, escaping is Victor Weyrich. So as they come out of turn 9, Porsche versus Alpine. Both very attractive shapes, those 2 cars. And the Porsche for the moment staying ahead. There you can see the representative lap times. A look on the inside line there came from Greg Gilbert. He wants to be part of that Pro-Am battle as well. Try under attack now because he's got the Enzo Juliet BMW on his tail.
Now that's interesting because that's a teammate to the championship contender as well. So the more that Enzo Juliet can cause problems for Michael Schrey, the more that may help Tom Edgar in his quest for the championship. There's not many points, if any points, being taken from Schrey right now from 19th, but every little counts in terms of hassling, that's for sure.
So there is the race-leading duo, Josh Rattigan ahead of Jack Mitchell, and the window will be open in 20 seconds' time. There is Antoine Leclerc, 3rd, leading in Pro-Am. Jim Pla is dropping like a stone, and clearly does have a problem. So he's gone from being in 3rd place now to not yet coming over the line.
Yeah, he's either stopped. It doesn't say that he's in the pit, so he's stopped somewhere out on circuit, obviously in a safe position.
He's in the pits now, yeah.
So he wasn't being quite as kind as we first thought.
No, if you've got a problem, there's not much you can do apart from let people go. So Jim Pla pits. There's the AM leading car of Laurent Hergon that Alain Ferte will take over. And they're currently in 17th place overall, the Alpine. Got the BMWs behind. So there's your silver battle between Schrey and Juliet. But they've got the leading AM up the road ahead.
It's basically a massive queue behind Victor Weyrich, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or now Hendrick Still. Almost 10, 15 cars. And yes, Jim Pla pulling in and turning the car off.
Yes, the team name is half accurate. It's a car, but there's not much speed, I'm afraid. Jim Pla's stint having just evaporated. But yeah, like a complete loss of power. So Jim Pla out. Whether it overheated behind the safety car and got into a sort of limp home mode, who knows? But it's a possibility. The Akhil Ramindra and number 19 of Andreas Bachmann incident, no investigation necessary. Jim Pla apologising to the team very frustrated because they needed that car to try and take points away from the opposition, and that bit of the plan hasn't worked.
Quite a lot of gesturing.
Yeah, pit window open.
Yes, and Paul Cahab going into the pits, as has Anthony Hartwig.
Yeah, Alexander Hartwig down the pit lane, and he was in in 5th place earlier on, but tumbling now. And also in earlier Shrine, not unexpectedly, to get the quicker Gabriele Piana into the BMW.
Also to get himself out of all that traffic.
Well, yeah, absolutely true. And so also in his Tom Edgar to hand that car over to Bekke Bessler, winners at Misano. Yeah, we're not really seeing the best out of Tom Edgar today after a tough qualifying and a limited amount of opportunity in that stint with a long safety car period. But there, Gabriele Piana gets ready to jump aboard the Hofor Racing by Bonk Motorsport entry, and Borusan Automotive arrive at the BMW dealership behind.
It rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? At 76 seconds is the pit in to pit out time here in Barcelona. You have one joker that you can play. If you do go below it by a second, if you go below it by over a second, then you've got an automatic penalty. And it's amazing how many teams still seem to get it wrong.
Yes, it is.
In GT4
Yes.
after many, many years.
Big effort being made here. Hendrik still under attack. Greg Gilver in the blue Audi lines up, look down from the drone. Brilliant shot that. And you see the Audi go through on the inside, picks up the place. Really nice move that. So Greg Gilver goes through. Hendrik still might be able to fight back on the run down towards turn 10, but Gilver covers off the line and to the outside line, contact with De Fulgencio, around he goes. And Hendrik still was involved in all of that, and a big, big lose. I think maybe he's got liquid on his tyres there because he spun at the next corner. Front damage on a Porsche, possibly. Put coolant down. Let's see if anybody else catches any liquid in the slides. Here are those cars being released from the pits. Well, that it's got a puncture maybe rather than liquid has gone down, but Hendrik still gets going. It looked like the brakes were slightly alight there as well. So now I think he's got away with that liquid, but maybe he's done a tyre and that's what pitched him around.
Yeah, I mean, completely not his fault there. He was minding his own business. And obviously being slightly compromised by the pass at the previous corner. His speed wasn't the same as everybody else's, but Fulgencio turned in on him and expects him to disappear, which is a difficult thing to do. But the second, I think there might have been a second contact which sent him into the actual spin.
Maybe. Right, so the order is now shuffling because of the pit stops. Hendrik still has come into the pit lane anyway, so he can sort out whatever damage has been done and also make this the regulation pit stop.
And our leader's in traffic. This is the problem about staying out too long. Ratakin has now got slower cars that have done their pit stops, and his little LED lights aren't doing much when he's trying to flash them. It's certainly not getting these guys out of the way. Julien Piget is aboard the Porsche. It should be giving him room, and he's not. He's turning in on him, and this is going to really compromise his advantage that he's built up over the last 10-15 minutes. Here's that contact again.
Yeah, well, Fulgencio was ahead, but then as he tried to turn in, there was the traffic on the inside. It'll be interesting to see what the stewards decide about that. And there is Hendrik still, and it was a secondary impact against Alex Fontana. So that's what did for him at the next corner. So Hendrik still having a tough time. He's in the pits. We understand that Jim Plough's problems, they think it was the battery that was slowly dying. So all the power was being sapped away by a battery going flat on him. So there is Josh Ratican, the race leader, staying out, having cleared the traffic. But he's now got the Alpine tucked up behind, as into the pit lane has now come Jack Mitchell to hand that car over. So you've got Ratican and Leclerc running 1 and 2. Jamie Day is in as well, so the pit lane getting busy once more.
Interestingly, Ratican's lap time was not massively different to what he managed the lap before, so he didn't lose that much time behind Julien Piget, even though it looked as though he was sapping time away. Obviously speeds Elite Motorsport dividing their two cars up, giving this car the undercut, if you like, but without change of tyres or anything like that, it's not really the same effect as if you're a follower of Formula 1.
Now we've got one car under investigation for possibly speeding in the pit lane, and it is the Ivan Ekelchik, now Nikolai Müller-Madsen Porsche. So that's being looked at, and the order continues to be turned upside down as Gabriele Piana hustles on. He knows he's just got to drive absolutely flat out here in order to salvage as many points as he can going into tomorrow's race, where the car will start from pole position from memory, because he did do the best time in Q2, which was then red flagged, and that helped a little bit. But now he's hard at work, and drivers getting in and out of cars as the pit stop window cycles through. So Jack Mitchell is done, and there is number 110 Alpine up towards the line. That's now Simon Thurman, who has taken over from Paul Caupe. And ahead, rejoining the race there, you've got the other McLaren. So now 78 of Alex Denning stays ahead, and also number 5, which Jamie Day has given over to Ruben Del Sart, stays ahead as well. So at the end of the pit window, we'll get a proper idea of the order. The leader is in, Josh Rattigan's McLaren coming down the pit lane, and a big dive there from Becky Besler to get through the traffic on the inside. That's a place gain on the Porsche on the inside.
I get the feeling that once this shapes out, the number 2 might have gained quite a few positions, just from the positioning of where he was in relation to the 78 Elite Motorsport McLaren that we've just come out of the pits. Now we've got the number 3 in, Lariche handing over to Consonny. That's the leader, the 77, but where does that car come out in relation to the 78 that is already out on circuit? Those are the big questions.
So Tom Ensom will take over that car, another Ginetta Junior graduate. Anybody on a GT4 grid that's British largely has come out of Ginetta Juniors, it feels like. And in fact, even not British, Ruben Del Sart came out of that category as well. Antoine Leclerc then picks up the lead for the moment, with Dante Raponge in the Chevrolet running in second place. Are you all right in there, Sir Josh Rattigan? Yes, says Tom Enson, door is closed. Interesting, he runs around the front, which isn't always the done thing, but good stint there by Josh Rattigan, and he's kept the car in the lead. There is 78 then. That is the car now of Alex Denning, on the back of Ruben Del Sart. So this is a battle for position.
No, it's changed positions, because I think Denning came out ahead of Del Sart. They should have come out ahead of Del Sart because they've both pitted. So Del Sart has moved up ahead of the 78, and I don't think the number 2 is that far behind those guys. But Rattigan handing over now has a big advantage still.
Now, where does the Audi rejoin in the pack? So, yes, it will be 77 Tom Emson to lead. Up into second place provisionally now goes Del Sart. Third is going to be Alex Denning. And then fourth is number 3, now Robert Consonny at the wheel. Fifth is the Toyota. So that is Etienne Shelley. And
the number 2's already gone through, I think.
Yeah. But timing and scoring doesn't agree with us on that, because it's got Piana a long, long way down the order. So behind Simon Thurman's Alpine is where he is going to be. So 77 continues to lead Josh Rattigan. There he is, and it's quite a lead that's actually been gained on the pit stops, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much, much bigger gap than it was before the stops. Look in second. There is Ruben Del Sart. Third then is 78, Alex Denning. In fourth place now, Robert Consonny. In fifth place is the Toyota in the hands of Etienne Shelley. In sixth place is going to be, that looks like 74 to me,
yep.
Matteo Villagomez. Then I would offer you Simon Thurman and then Gabriele Piana.
So still a lot of positions between the two.
Yeah, and that's going to be factored in, because Antoine Leclerc now gives way in 36 to Jean-Bernard Bouvet, and that's got to blend back into that leading wave as well, hasn't it? Now, can the Alpine hang on to second place here? Let's see, down the pit lane. Second is a possibility to, I think, jumped ahead, hadn't it, before the stops, but here you go. Trouble is, he's not yet up to the pit lane speed limit line. Now he is, so Leclerc can accelerate away, but the Alpine's going to come out in second place. Is it going to keep second place heading down towards turn 1? Jean-Bernard Bouvet does indeed keep second. Third is Del Sart then. Fourth, it is going to be the second of the McLarens, which is Alex Denning's car. And look at all this traffic. So Gabriele Piana has got another wave to try to get past, including the Christophe Amon blue Audi there.
Car 94, 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane.
Joel Duval's voice you hear, the race director, proclaiming the sentence on Nikolai Moller-Madsen, number 94 Porsche.
The other one that is, the reason why that Aston Martin number 5 has got up so high in the field, as we've seen the number 2 get ahead of Christophe Amon, which is kind of expected. The number 2 is a silver, and Amon is an Am, is that their pit stop was a 1:15.1. So they have legally managed to do it 9/10 of a second faster than the prescribed 176 seconds. But they'll play their joker on that one, so they won't get a penalty. And that is how the 5 has jumped up into, well, it was second position. It's now third, isn't it, with the little Alpine slotting in between the two of them. But it's been probably one of the best days so far for Jamie Day and Ruben Del Sar.
Yeah, they've had days where they've shown good pace but been unlucky with reliability. There, in the meantime, is Robert Constany, who's looking for a way past the McLaren then. Alex Denning tries to fend him off on the inside line, but this is brave stuff by Constany, who goes all the way around the outside. Can't do it at 12, but gets the switch back to the inside line and then gets another face full of McLaren. So good defensive driving this by Alex Denning. Doesn't know the circuit, but he's really adapting very, very well.
He's already lost a position to Del Sar, hasn't he?
Yeah, we saw that on the outlap, didn't we? So it is 77 Empson in the lead, 36 Bouvet in second place now, and then in third as they come over the line is Del Sar, fourth is Denning, and fifth is Constany, in sixth place Etienne Shelley in the Toyota, and then in seventh place Mattia Villagomez in the Racing Spirit of Le Mans Aston, in eighth place Simon Thurman, ninth is Gabriele Piana, and then 10th is the Chevrolet Lars Seinen at the wheel of it.
So that's eighth in the silver class for Piana, because Leclerc is kind of out of position with all the silvers around him.
And it's Bouvet now as well. The transponder hasn't updated, but you're right, it's Leclerc's car with Jean-Bernard Bouvet at the wheel. This is a proper battle, and it is between Denning and Constany. And of course, it's allowing the top 3 to escape, and every which way Constany tries, he's on the wrong line. He thinks for the right line, but then the road comes back, if you like, to the McLaren at the next corner. If the results were this, in silver, it will be 142 plays 124 going into tomorrow's race. Besler and Edgar falling out of the frame, aren't they?
Yeah, where are they in the standings? 19th position, which is 14th in class, so no points for them. Although Etienne Shelley and Antoine Potti are scoring big points, it's not enough to stay in contention for tomorrow.
Indeed so, yeah, because they are, in real terms now, fifth in class. And there, again, the Audi challenges the McLaren. Denning's going to go wide, though, and this is Constany's opportunity. He's ahead, but he's on the outside, but he's got the job done. So through goes Robert Constany. This is very good news as he creeps forward. Might not be having the help he expected from the sister car, but he's doing it the hard way, as did Benjamin Lariche in stint 1.
Yeah, he learned from the last lap where he didn't quite get far enough ahead and was able this time to shut the door going into 12, which is really what you need to do. Otherwise, you just end up being hung out to dry on the outside. And now I think Constany's going to try and check out there and head in pursuit of the cars ahead, which is an escaping Ruben Del Sar, who's getting onto the tail now of Bouvet.
So the race leaders go by, and we've got 21 minutes to go, and Josh Empson is leading by very nearly 5 seconds. His last lap was a 1:51.6. He's still building that gap. He's lapping quicker than anybody in that chasing pack behind him, other than Piana, who is doing a 51.5. So slightly quicker as Piana, but he's got all that traffic to get through. Pavel Lefterov in the red Porsche. Lefterov goes right off and eventually tries to get around the outside, diving down towards turn 1, and he does so, goes around the outside there of number 19 of Jessica Bachmann, goes by. So Pavel Lefterov using his GT4 experience to good effect, but now we need to keep an eye on Piana and see what he can do. He's got the pace, but he's got all this traffic that's rather keeping him at bay. Pavel Lefterov now in 23, coming out of turn 4. And the next target is going to be the Ivan Jacoma Porsche, which goes wide, and the door opens on the inside line, and he should be able to go through. Yes, he does. Look down from the drone, the red came and goes through on the inside. At the back of that group is Filip Gogolik in the recovering number 4 Mercedes, and had that spin with De Fulgencio at the wheel earlier on in the race.
Of course, this is right in the middle of the pack, but it is the overall battle for 22nd position. Fontana and Hoffman. It's Hoffman now aboard that car, because of course there are 2 Century Porsches with Jacoma sharing with Leutwiler, and that's actually in the next group behind. Switcheroo, side by side, 2 by 2.
That was Gogolik making the move in the Mercedes against Gregory Feisel's green Audi. Feisel's an experienced GT4 racer, but got done over there, didn't he? Good and proper. So Filip Gogolik, another from the German Championship, making progress. This is the fight for second place now. Jean-Bernard Bouvet versus Ruben Delsart. If you've got a very long memory, you might remember Ruben's father racing in single-seaters in the UK in the 1980s. Formula First, Formula 3. And Ruben, who came from Ginetta Junior Racing into GT4, both Europe and in the French Championship, hustling on. And the Alpine good through the corners, the Aston good in a straight line.
Yeah, I wonder how much recent driving or racing Jean-Bernard Bouvet has done. In 8 appearances at the Le Mans in 1990s and early 2000s in all kinds of weird and wonderful machineries for these French teams that seem to crop up in the 24-hour classic.
Well, like WM and WR and Deborah and all of those, yes. Yeah. Well, he hangs it out there, doesn't he, over the curbs. But one would assume he's done a bit of racing of late, if only to keep up his licence. So he comes down towards turn 10, and he's under attack, isn't he, now, from Ruben Delsart, who gets onto the power. The Alpine looking a little bit edgy, but he cuts across the defence going up the hill.
They do, though, don't they? They squirm around the Alpines. We saw that in qualifying, and maybe one of the reasons why one of them ended up in the wall before turn 1. It just, of all of the cars, they just look a little bit nervous. And they are small. I mean, even in comparison to the Aston Martin there, that seems to have a much wider, more planted track to it. Somebody's been a bit wide through the last turn, and they are now side by side.
And this is where the grunt of the Aston should tell, surely.
You see those little Alpines scamper away, though, down straight sometimes, such as the BOP, and actually they're totally equal to each other.
Big lock-up by Delsart. Tries to make the corner. Scrabbles in. I'm just wondering whether or not that was purely a lock-up or whether a tyre has gone as he hit the brakes. Let's see. He's got to blend back in. But Ruben Delsart, yeah, there, heading back to the racetrack, but that's a costly drama.
There's a big lock-up as well, so even if it isn't a puncture, he's going to have a horrible vibration for the last 15 minutes of the race, and yeah, he's off the circuit.
I think he's got a problem.
Oh, what a shame.
I said it before, they've had good pace, but they've been unlucky. So a place gained by Gabriele Piana, and he's about to get another one. Look against the Simon Thurman Alpine. Inside, then to the outside line, dropped down the hill, couldn't quite do it there. The BMW towering over the top of the Alpine.
It really is.
Like a Tonka toy, isn't it, the BM in comparison. Looks huge.
It's amazing how they find themselves in these great positions. Piana now 9th position, 8th in silver, and he can get up in the top 6. Even though we scratched our heads in qualifying and thought, what are they going to do? They seem to still, in the second half of the race, find themselves recovering. It's not going to be enough, I don't think, to seal the deal today, such as the performance of the number 3 machine.
But Piana is a very good GT4 racer, isn't he? We've seen this before, and he's doing a very, very good job once again. Yellow flag out in sector 2 now.
Turn 6, so that's an unusual place to go off. We've got, of course, that's where the Ruben Delsart car has stopped, isn't it? So
yes.
He's obviously not managed to stop in a safe enough place, and although that's a pretty good job. Marshals will be able to try and position that so they can push it behind the wall without the need for an intervention of a safety car, full course yellow.
If that is a mechanical problem that stopped him from the race and therefore caused him to go up the escape road, he did a good job of saving it, because that could have been quite messy.
Yeah. Cast your mind back to Antonio Pizzonia in a road-going Jaguar at turn 1 back in the early 2000s. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. Remarkable.
Right, here is Piana on the attack against once more. Simon Thurman goes one side, goes the other. This is for 7th place, but 6th in class. And they come now out of turn 4, nose to tail, the Alpine just having the advantage.
So 14 points would be the difference between the number 3 and the number 2 going into tomorrow, with 25 points on offer, because we've already given 1 point away from qualifying, and the Besler Edgar car and the Shelley Potter car would be out of contention. 2-horse Audi versus BMW fight, lunchtime tomorrow, the last round of this year's championship, where there is still the 6 hours, in theory, in Vallelunga at the end of October.
Yeah, non-championship race planned. As there you see number 3, Robert Consonny, on the back of Jean-Bernard Bouvet. Now, to go back to your point about whether he's race rusty or not, if he is, well, Bouvet's doing a good job because he's not cracked under the pressure yet, and he's not yet been passed by Consani, so he's defending nicely, all of which plays into Tom Enson's hands. So the British team, Elite Motorsport, could be on for a victory here because he's 7 seconds up the road, nearly 8 seconds up the road now.
Yeah, I think that chain, Loic Villiger basically decided to stop after Spa, and although there hasn't been that many endurance rounds after Spa, GT4 have supported in Misano and Hockenheim. Yeah. So this is probably the third weekend for Bouvet. And so at least will be feeling comfortable in the car now. And obviously has the opportunity also to race in the French GT Championship as well. So many of these drivers are doing that. Aston Martin exploring, Mercedes exploring the gravel trap, and an odd gravel trap to explore, turn 10. Coming out of turn 10,
you're quite right, running very, very wide, so that car delayed but carries on. That's the Guillermo Asoajo car. Good battle going on here. It's number 12 then, Beke Besler tries to get himself up the order. Number 22, Porsche has fallen a long way back. That's Anne Sharp's car behind the second place.
Be a bit of a tricky one, won't it?
Yeah.
Interesting that looks like Alex Denning's got himself up to speed, and those early laps in the McLaren he was not particularly strong, but look who's now crawling all over the back of the little Alpine. And remember we talked about tyres at the start of the race, and nursing your tyres at the start will gain lots of grip at the end. I wonder whether something like an Alpine that is always teetering on the edge by the looks of things scrubs and uses their tyres more in a day like today than perhaps something that's more planted like a McLaren. And maybe Jean Bernard has got to deal with a very loose Alpine with a lack of grip.
So there is Jean-Bernard Bouvet, who now really needs to be told by the team to pick his battles. He could afford to let Denning go and still be a class winner, rather than getting himself in a battle that he doesn't need to and could jeopardise the result of that car for Antoine Leclerc, of course.
Christophe Amon down in 9th position.
Yeah, second in class.
So a long gap, a long distance between the 36 and the 42. And then third in that class, you have to go all the way down to the number 20, which has lost a couple of positions, which is the Eastside green Mercedes.
Lucas Meyer at the wheel of it. 10 minutes and counting here in Barcelona race 1 for GT4 European Series. And Tom Emerson's advantage is 9 seconds, so we thought it was going to be tricky from 8, but he's extended it even further. It's down that back straight towards turn 10 they go. Now Bouvet coming under attack from Alex Denning, and Denning wants to be on his toes because there's a whole queue of cars behind him. There's Etienne Shelley's Toyota, there is Mathieu Villagomez Aston, Simon Thurman and Gabriele Piana at the back, so that wave takes you down to 8th place.
That's good news for Piana, isn't it? He can see points in front of him, lots of them, if he can move forward.
But that's the problem, isn't it? As you've been making the point, the BOP does work incredibly well, and Simon Thurman is a quick driver, so also ahead of him is Mathieu Villagomez on home soil, so it's not going to be easy, I don't think, for Piana to wriggle through. So the BMW booms past the pits, but a big drama there, which has taken 2 cars out of the race. 93 being one of them, that's Sergio Porle, and what's the other one? 72 Aston, so that's the car of Kevin Jimenez and Florent Grisod. Now where is that? That's coming into turn 5, isn't it?
Yeah, and we're going to go full course yellow to cover that one off. So that stunts the pro set,
So the full course yellow is called in 20 seconds. There'll be a 10-second shout, and then we'll go full course yellow. That will neutralise the pace.
Full course yellow now.
Full course yellow now, so Joel Doval. So the race director calls for the full course yellow. I would not envisage many more racing laps if they've got to get 2 cars out of the way, but I think they've once tried to outbrake the other and they've both gone straight on into the corner, would be my guess as how they've got there.
Now, it's hot. Do we really need to bring the safety car out to bunch them up to then go racing? Usually we do that to get the cars back up to temperature. But I don't know whether in, 38 degrees track temperature, just under 30 degrees air temperature, whether that's necessary. And all it's going to do is bunch them up and cause chaos. So we might be able to keep these gaps as they are if we can get those cars clear in 8 minutes and go racing again without needing to do the whole process, because in 8 minutes I think the whole process would take too long.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I know what you mean, but it's amazing, isn't it, how quickly temperature can be lost, and the tyre pressures as well. So first problem is to get 2 cars out of the way, and how many minutes is that going to take? The clock ticks on down, and it's about to drop below 8 minutes. So the full course yellow instantly slows everybody down. That therefore makes it safe for the marshals to crack on and attend to the cars. But you've also got to get the recovery vehicles over there, then you've got to get the cars out of the gravel, then you've got to sweep the track, then you've got to...
We don't need to sweep the track because the cars have buried heavily in the gravel. So in theory, unless you drag the cars back onto
Precisely, yeah.
which I suppose you have to do, don't you?
Yes, because there's no other way of getting them to the next refuge point. Yeah. So that's where, you know, these are all the things going through minds in double quick time in race control, all with a plan to try and get the race back underway. You know, there was a very public criticism of a race director at a Grand Prix in Abu Dhabi, but the similar situation, you know, so many things are trying to be guessed. How long will this take? How long will that take? To try to get racing in before the end of the allotted time, as it were. You know, there's more to it than instantly one might think. There is the recovery operation already on hand. The drone goes to visit one of our cameramen.
That was a normal drone rather than the FPV drone.
Getting into drone type numbers, I give up. Safety car has been
Different
deployed.
type of drone.
Thank you. Right. Safety car is on track. We're not in safety car procedure, but that does answer the question that we will restart from behind the safety car when we're ready. Bad news for Tom Empson.
Yeah.
His lead of 19 seconds.
Oh.
If we go racing again, it's going to be out of the window.
9 seconds at full race speed, 19 seconds obviously at this slower speed. 60 kilometers an hour, I think they're doing. But we know how strong Robert Consani is and how much he'll be wanting to get those points for the championship. So if we are able to go racing, it could be quite frenetic for the last 6 minutes, which is only going to be, I think they're going to get, if they do, there'll be 1 or 2 racing laps only, isn't it? Yeah.
I mean, the good thing is Tom Empson can control that restart. He can decide when he goes and try and outfox Robert Consani. But there you've got the recovery going on still. And the clock is at just under 6 minutes, as you can see.
Forklift successfully dragging one. The 4x4 trucks, they've got a fleet of them here at Barcelona. And the idea is that they try and drag the cars out using those, but I barely seem to succeed. Having been here 2 weeks ago and obviously had 24 hours worth of people falling into the gravel, there was quite a lot of 4x4s getting stuck in the gravel as well. And in fact, that I think that Aston has not been pulled enough away from the gravel trap, and it's just dug itself back into the gravel. The wheels spun. Oh no, it's got going again.
It's only one's away, yeah.
I mean, look at that thing. Gravel traps are made to stop cars from moving. It's doing a remarkable job of spinning its way through Rescue 1.
Just hoping it wasn't going to shower the circuit.
Well, there's
that
also
gravel
that.
has been spinning out the back of it. It'd be a bit self-defeating, wouldn't it? So there is back on track Florent Grisot. And there's the gravel dropping out of the bottom of the car, or some of it at least, as he peppers the road. And the Elite Motorsport team looking nervous. Steph Bush at the far end, Jody Fannin in the headset in the middle, racer himself, Eddie Ives next, team owner.
And this will be a big step for them because they came in at the start of the year with limited European experience, and to finish the year with a victory is massive. Safety car procedure now. We do have a bit of damage to that Porsche, sadly. Does that mean that it can't drive?
And there's drama with a punctured tyre for...
It's broken suspension, isn't it?
Yeah. It's the,
unrelated, presumably, to what's just happened.
Yeah, Louis Merrick's car. So he's pulled it off at turn 10. That's going no further. So yes, you're right, we're into the safety car now with under 4 minutes to go. But yes, I thought when it was sitting low, he'd run over gravel and done a tyre, but you're right, it looked more like suspension. So Louis Merrick is out.
And okay, so they're going to try and pull that Porsche behind the barriers down at turn 5. Just saw that from the drone. And so that could be done in the next minute or so. We've got 3.5 on the clock. We could get 1 racing lap in.
Yeah.
I'm forever hopeful.
There is a phrase I've heard somewhere about safety cars breed safety cars.
Well, you can't do that when you've only got a minute left. In that sense, the safety car breeds red flag,
Yeah,
or
true.
the checker flag will save you.
Yeah, indeed. If it's only 1 lap, you're right. But the point being that they'll all bunch up, and the really aggressive drivers are going to get out their elbows. You're quite right about the damage done there to the Sergio Pole car. It is being dragged back through the gravel.
SRS team saw Rennsport with 2 cars here this weekend. We usually see at least 1.
Yeah.
But they've got a very simple awning system in the paddock, and they just put up another one alongside the one that was already there.
We've got 2.5 minutes left. The last lap was 3 minutes and 9, which means that
Final lap.
they're about to start the last lap of the race behind the safety car, unless the lights are switched off now, but I don't think they can be. I think we're going to end behind the safety car. The safety car might release them for a sort of ceremonial finish, but my reading of this is that Tom Empson has brought the car to a race win, and he's got 1 more lap just to tick off the time. But to all intents and purposes, the race is over now because there's less than a lap time left in the race.
What a shame.
Smile, Eddie, you've done it, you've won it. Yes, he knows it. So, yeah, on to the last lap. It always slightly puzzles me when it is apparent that you can't have another racing lap, why you don't put the checkered flag out a lap early. But anyway, they give the drivers the track time, I suppose, the mileage, and they'll bring them round behind the safety car.
What about if you've only got a single car in a class, but they still need to do qualifying?
Yes.
Yes.
So you'll have that ceremonial finish by doing it this way at least. The safety car can peel in, and then you'll get the
Safety
flag
car
away.
in this lap. It's
Yes,
announced.
Indeed.
But
Imagine that.
But it's not announced that it's the last lap. Well, I suppose it wouldn't be announced that it's the last lap. And it isn't a 1 hour plus 1 lap race like we have in
No.
other forms.
No.
You add a lap afterwards.
So the safety car will peel in. If the leader gets to the line in under a minute, they'll get another lap.
The safety car is going to absolutely have to nail it, and presumably Empson is going to not want that to happen, so he'll back them up and go really, really slowly.
The last lap was 2:25, and they have got half a minute to get round turns 10 all the way around to 14.
It would be close. It would be close.
It would if you've got a really heavy right foot. But Tom Empson might be...
Safety car's gone. I can see out the window that it's headed off.
15 seconds,
But-
14,
Yeah. Okay.
13, 12, 10.
And you can't overtake before the line, can you?
No, so this is the order.
Yeah.
But it's going to look good for telly, basically, look good for photographs, and it does give Tom Empson the opportunity to see the checkered flag waved at him. So the safety car peels in. We will go racing up to the line, but you can't overtake until you get to the line. But it's still a good save for Robert Constantini to get second place and through to win race 1 of the weekend for Elite Motorsport. Josh Rattigan and Tom Empson. There's a mad scramble to the line, but it's a win for Elite Motorsport and a great effort. So Josh Rattigan and Tom Empson victorious. Second, Robert Constantini and Benjamin Lariche. And where out of all of that were Piana and Schrei. They were 7th in class. Could have been a lot worse.
Could have been a lot worse, and they are in the pound seat tomorrow as well. So that is a great recovery drive from the number 2 machine, and big smiles down at Elite Motorsport.
Yeah, it's a team that's come out of Ginetta Racing, juniors and seniors, expanded into single-seater racing in the UK in GB3, and now into GT racing, GT4 European Series, coming to circuits they've never been to before, learning about the track, having to garner the data, and it's been a good training ground for lots of young drivers. It was from Elite Motorsport, as an example, that Harry King came, now one of the stars of Porsche Super Cup and Carrera Cup Germany, and race winners here, Tom Empson and Josh Rattigan, victorious for Elite Motorsport. So the second race will determine a championship tomorrow in Silver, and it's going to be another fascinating race when we get on track for GT4 race 2 tomorrow, and that will be at 11 o'clock. It's going to be the first race of tomorrow, and a very happy Tom Empson and Josh Rattigan will go into that as race victors this afternoon. So the field turning its way up to Parc Fermé. So there is the winning McLaren, and really good job done by team and drivers alike. You could argue that the safety car periods, plural, did help. There's also a car under investigation, which is 76. That's the Fontana and Patrick Hoffman car for possibly speeding at the start of the full course yellow period. So Josh Rattigan and Tom Empson, the winners, from Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consigny. Antoine Leclerc third with Jean-Bernard Bouvet, then Jack Mitchell and Alex Denning. Fourth from Antoine Potier and Etienne Shelley. Top 6 rounded out by Victor Weyrich and Mathieu Villa-Gomez. Behind them, to round out the top 10, Paul Calpe and Simon Thurman. 8th, the Silver Championship leaders. A bit of a save this with Michael Schrei and Gabriele Piana. Then the Pro-Am champs, Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amon. And the top 10 completed by Enzo Juliet and Jagish Gaidik. The winning AMs, Laurent Hergon and Alain Ferté. So there in Parc Fermé is the winning car. Silver winner, of course, as well. Pro-Am, as I say, won by Leclerc and Bouvet from Amon and Gilbert, and it was Lucas Meyer in third spot with Denis Bulletov. Ferté and Hergon winning in AM from Paolo Maloney in the BMW that is shared with his son Davide. And then the third of the AMs is the champion, Alban Baruti with Julien Piguet. So a really happy team celebrating a victory. It is, as you would have seen, a very, very tough championship, GT4 European Series. So to come out with a win is quite a result. There are some very, very good teams from other domestic competitions that come into this and don't win, but a really excellent job done by Elite Motorsports, and a very, very happy team can now start to celebrate. The winning margin of 3/10 is not really the true story of the race, of course, because of the bunching up behind the safety car, but even so, a good win for Tom Empson and Josh Rattigan, and there Robert Consigny and Benjamin Lariche then take second spot and the points that go with it. So important result for the team. So they'll be happy, but so too will be our race winners then. Josh Rattigan, Tom Empson take a maiden GT4 European Series win, and they are with Gemma Scott.
Josh, we'll just grab you for 2 seconds there, watching on from the pit wall. That was a mega finish, a mega celebration, but nail-biting, right?
Oh, honestly, I couldn't be more happy for the both of us. It's taken a while, but it's finally paid off. The car this year has been incredible. Obviously, it's first year for the car, so we've just been slowly chipping away, and it's finally paid off. Couldn't be more happy for me and the team, and Tom.
Absolutely, Tom, you look hot, but you look happy. Talk to me, that last couple of laps there with the safety car, did you think you were going to get any kind of restart at all?
Yeah, well, me and the team were talking over the radio whether or not it was going to be a safety car finish or not. And when the safety car lights came off, we didn't know if it was going to be another lap or not. And then as soon as I saw the checkered flag, there's the relief I had. It was amazing, yeah. Yeah,
because I think another lap there, Consigny potentially would have got you, right?
Yeah, I think we would have been able to defend them off, but it would have been close, yeah.
Well, a fantastic effort from both of you. Congratulations, enjoy this moment.
Thank you.
And I'm sure they will, as will team owner Eddie Ives. And the McLaren then, which is a car that's not had a vast amount of success in GT4 European Series, might have done in domestic championships like British or the Asian Series, for example, but that car taking a victory in class and a third in class as well. What about Robert Consigny and Benjamin Lariche? They are with Gemma as well.
Enfin en franglais. C'est décidé. C'était un super course. It was an absolutely outstanding performance from both of you. We just saw you creep forward and creep forward.
Yeah, it was very tricky at the start because McLaren and Jim my teammate was behind, and I touched him, so it was very hard. And yes, we had a perfect pace in qualifying, but after the degradation is very high with the Audi, so we're still alive. It means we'll beat for the championship at the last race, so it's a good result for us, and let's see what's happened tomorrow.
Et c'est super pour les fans aussi. Une dernière course. Robert, did you enjoy that?
Yes, the problem, the unique chance on this race is the 2 safety car, because without a safety car is not the same race. I think you don't finish on the podium because the degradation on the Audi is too hard. It's too hard to finish. I'm completely destroyed. It's very hot inside the car, but it's very difficult to drive the car because you need to be concentrated in the maximum and don't make a mistake. So, thank you to the safety car, thank you to the other driver for the safety car. Hope to have the new chance for tomorrow.
J'adore ça. Première fois qu'on dit merci pour le safety car. Bravo.
So great job done by Robert Consani, former rallyman, as Ben Considurus was explaining, and Benjamin Lariche. So they come through for second place, and that's good for the championship for them. It is going to be 144 points to BMW number 2 versus 130 for Audi number 3. So 14 points between, 15 for a win, 12 for second, but there's already a point, of course, that will go the way of the BMW for taking pole position. So it's still going to be a very good fight tomorrow between the BMW and Audi teams as we get set then for the podium, or podiums, because they will be one per class. So the drivers quickly ushered up the steps. While we wait, let's have a look at the highlights of a very lively race as ever. And it began with Josh Rattigan taking the advantage heading down towards turn 1. Teammate Jack Mitchell behind him, and then a bit of contact between Jim Pla and also Benjamin Lariche, putting Jim Pla off the road. And eventually, with a flat battery, he would retire. But then we had contact, Gustavo Xavier being hit by the Ilian Zonev Porsche. That brought out the safety car. When we went racing again, it was a McLaren 1-2, but gradually 77 asserted itself as the quicker of the two. Big dive by Jamie Day to get up on the inside of Antoine Potti's Toyota. And the battles raged on for the remainder of the first stint. The pit window, of course, came relatively soon after the restart. Alexander Hartley got run out wide and fell back. That car continued to drop away in the second stint. Another car in strife, well, Hendrik Still's Porsche rattling off the number 4 Mercedes. And then a second spin, a corner later, the Hendrik Still dropped he and Max Kronberg a long way down the order. In the end, that car retired hurt. Also retiring, Ruben Delsart. He made this big dive on the Alpine of Jean-Bernard Bouvet, but then ran out wide and with some failure parked it on that lap. Eventually, Robert Consani moved through to take second place, but then didn't have really enough racing time in which to chase the McLaren. He caught up thanks to the safety car, but that was up to the checkered flag. So it was a race win for Tom Empson and Josh Rattigan. Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche taking the points for second place as the checkered flag flew at the end of lap 28. A McLaren win, Eddie Ives' team coming out on top here in Barcelona. So the podium awaits. Drivers being prepared behind the podium. They'll step forward shortly once everybody is there. So in a moment or two, we'll have the first of the podiums. The announcements being made for the fans trackside, and drivers then will be brought forward in a moment or two. So it is the Pro-Ams that come out first. So number 20, which is the combination of Lucas Meyer and his co-driver in the Mercedes, Denis Bulatov. Then we have Greg Gilbert and Christophe Amont, this year's champions, but second place in the race today. And then the class winners will be Jean-Bernard Bouvet and Antoine Leclerc for the top step of the Pro-Am podium. The LP drivers step forward. Trophies to be presented. And for Antoine Leclerc, who had a win at Monza, a win at Paul Ricard, it's a third victory of the season. So well done then to the victorious Pro-Am drivers. So the trophies presented by Rafa Racing Club's Rafael Martinez, who's been racing himself today in the McLaren Trophy Europe. And he was on the podium himself. So the trophies go to third to second, there to Christophe Amont, to Greg Gilbert. And then to the winning team, which for Antoine Leclerc is the Code Racing Development Squad, and then the trophies go to the drivers as well. So win number 3 of the year for Antoine Leclerc, but he's had 2 of them with Loic Villiger. This, the first one, with Jean-Bernard Bouvet, the experienced sports car racer, many a Le Mans start to his name, and Antoine Leclerc and Jean-Bernard Bouvet can celebrate. Christophe Amont and Greg Gilbert racing here this weekend as the champions with no pressure, really. So the Pro-Am drivers then will continue the battle tomorrow, and the podium will be made ready for our next drivers in a few moments' time. The result still provisional. There are teams being called up. In fact, the number 20 Mercedes that's just finished third in Pro-Am on the road, the team manager of that car has been summoned to the race director immediately. So question mark hovers over that as well. So it'll be Al, I suspect, next rather than Silva, but we'll see. As in the paddock, quite a lot of cars being taken back to teams and work ready to go on. Because of course tomorrow's race is going to be much earlier in the day, so teams don't have as much time to work on the cars as where it's an afternoon race. The afternoon, of course, the 3-hour GT3 race. So our next podium, he's going to be the Silvers. So it will be Jack Mitchell and Alex Denning who step forward for third place. Then for second it will be Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche. And then our victorious team of Elite Motorsport, the silver drivers, are Josh Rattican and Tom Empson, who will come forward for a maiden victory. And welcome variety on the top step of the podium. The British team, British car, British drivers, Tom Empson grinning from ear to ear, Josh Rattican for the top step of the podium as well. Great job done. And Elite Motorsport, the winning team. So for Elite Motorsport, the trophies will come in a moment. They first go, though, to the other crew, if you like, the third place team from Elite, which is Jack Mitchell and his co-driver Alex Denning. Then to Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche, more silverware, but perhaps significantly more points to get them back into the mix as far as the championship is concerned. And then the trophies for Eddie Ives as Elite Motorsport. And he has a long look at that. That is quite a result to come across to Europe and win as I say, he's always been a good talent spotter, with a bit of help from Chris Hodgetts as well over the years, double British Touring Car champion, who spots young drivers and recommends them to Eddie Ives, and between them they nurture some good careers. Trophies go then to Tom Emson and to Josh Rattican, winners of race 1 of the weekend here in Barcelona. So the champagne is about to spray. The podium backdrop here is a really good one. It's a giant screen, so it shows the racing, and then it can be adapted to have the podium backdrop and the nationalities flags at the top without having to have the manpower of raising flags all the time and putting up different backdrops. It's all done electronically, and as I say, during the races it becomes a giant screen for the fans in the grandstand, so it's a really cool idea. And it's also, as you can see, shaped in the nature of the circuit. So the cutout at the front is the back part of the circuit, and the outline of the track drawn on it as well. It's one of the better podiums that exists. So the silver drivers are done. Trophies being brought forward, ready for the AMs, but elite are still busy celebrating, but quite right too. Sign of the times, isn't it, when you've got professional photographers having to wait for them to finish selfies, but understandably, some very, very happy drivers of that, and a very happy team patron as well. So the drivers make their way from the podium. So well done to Elite Motorsport. As far as AM is concerned, this is how the class result was. Laurent Hergon, Alain Ferté, the winners from Davide and Paolo Meloni, and third in class for the podium, Julien Piguet and Albin Baruti. They'll all be up there in a few moments' time. Fourth, Ivan Jacoma and Niki Leutwiler. In the Century Porsche Ticino came 11 seconds back. So action on the track not yet done for the day. There's also esports racing in the Fanatec Arena here, and out onto the podium come Albin Baruti and Julien Piguet. Albin Baruti has already taken the championship in the dark blue overalls with Julien Piguet at the other end. Then you've got Paolo and Davide Meloni, and Laurent Hergon and Alain Ferté step forward as the AM winners. Go back to 1988, Silverstone Tourist Trophy in the halcyon days of the European Touring Car Championship, and Alain Ferté was the winner with Andy Rouse in the Caliber liveried Sierra, part of the European Touring Car Championship that year. But he's been very experienced GT and sports car and single-seater racer over the years, and still competitive and still winning in GT4 to this day. So well done to Laurent Hergon and Alain Ferté then, the winners of the AM category. Trophies being brought forward once more. Rafa Martinez from the Rafa Racing Club, great enthusiast for sports car and GT racing, hands them over. The Meloni family taking second place trophies. The team's trophy comes next. And then the winning drivers will celebrate. Laurent Hergon and Alain Ferté receive their trophies, and the champagne will be next. So race 1 for GT4 European Series powered by Rafa Racing Club comes to a close. Photographs done, champagne to be sprayed, and race 2 tomorrow morning. Albin Baruti and Julien Piguet make a run for it, and Alain Ferté is on his toes, ready to spray anybody he can find. So, championship in silver still to be decided. That will come tomorrow, and it promises to be a really cracking race as ever in GT4 European Series. For today, Elite Motorsport can celebrate that win. Josh Rattican and Tom Emson victorious. We'll see you tomorrow for the championship showdown. From Ben Constanduros and David Addison, goodbye.